It's here. Upland has announced not one, but 2 new cities are coming this week to Upland. This is big news. We haven't had a new city in a minute. And, hey, Santa Clara just sold out, actually. We hyped it about a week ago. There's still FSA properties, but all the ones that are non-FSA are gone.
Wow, really?
So it's good timing. Good timing for some new cities, for some new... Because other than that, the only place to buy property right now for a non-FSA player is in Chicago, to mint new property, that is. So it's exciting. We're going to have 2 new cities to sell out as soon as we can. So those cities are Kansas City, Missouri, as well as Rutherford, New Jersey.
Right.
And both of these are in relation to the NFL partnership that Upland has made. So both of these cities happen to have football stadiums in those cities.
Yep. Kansas City, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs. Rutherford, New Jersey is the New York Giants. Big news.
So McSqueeb here has actually lived quite some time in Kansas City, and he may have some hot takes for us, maybe some potential collection speculation, which is always fun.
Yeah.
However, I think all of these are going to be announced up front, but it's fun to try to predict what some of them might be.
Yeah, sure. So as Loyal Doyle just mentioned, I lived in Kansas City for about 12 years and very much enjoyed Kansas City. By the way, I do want to clarify, this is Kansas City, Missouri. There is a Kansas City, Kansas. But what we're talking about here is Kansas City, Missouri. Now, I'm assuming, though, that there may be some properties that cross the Kansas-Missouri line that actually go into Kansas City, Kansas. I'm assuming that because there's some really nice neighborhoods just west of the Missouri line that can be considered as Kansas City depending on who you are. If you're a purist, Missouri, then no, that is not the case. But I can tell you there's just a lot of great little districts in Kansas City. Downtown Kansas City's got a lot of cool stuff there, a lot of great history in Kansas City. As was mentioned in the announcement, Kansas City is probably rivals Memphis for its barbecue. Just really great beef barbecue. I think Memphis is more of a pork barbecue. But yeah, Kansas City it definitely has more barbecue restaurants per capita than any other United States city.
That's cool.
That's way cool.
Awesome.
And I'm telling you, the barbecue is really good there. It's a little bit different flavor and style than what you would find in Memphis. Again, Memphis is probably more pork oriented, whereas Kansas City is more beef oriented, and that's just from the history of the region there, where there was a lot of cattle farms and ranches around the area of Kansas City, Missouri.
So how are you going to get to Kansas City? You're going to travel to any one of the airports in New York or Chicago or San Francisco, and then you can fly into Kansas City. So Rutherford's actually going to be a little bit different, where I believe players can travel to Rutherford via the metro station in Manhattan. Just head to the train terminal in Manhattan, select Rutherford. Wait,
so to get to Kansas City, you travel from Chicago by air or by train?
I believe you have either option.
Okay.
Flying via plane is a shorter ride, but will cost a premium. Players who wish to save will be better off traveling via the train from Chicago.
And
to Kansas City.
Is it true that each of these cities, both Kansas City and Rutherford, will be selling either train or airport terminals?
Yes, and to apply for those terminals, registration begins. So this is one. Let me actually show you in game for those of you who may not be familiar with this. When Upland does special releases, you actually go up here and you do the Get Upix. Okay, that's the store. I believe you can also get from the bottom menu and do store. Okay, And in the store is where you can actually register to be waiting in line, and you kind of get a spot in line. So it's kind of random which spot you get to be lucky enough to be one of the first to get a high spot in there. And then I'm not sure if they release the price, but it's gonna look just like this, but at the top it'll have like a register for Kansas City terminal or Rutherford terminal.
And that starts when? Tomorrow?
So it starts.
So today we're recording this at, actually.
Yeah, we'll be dropping this around
shortly
the time when registration is open. So that'll be Wednesday morning, September 8th. And then you have 24 hours to register. And then the sale begins on Thursday, September 9th. So you got to go check before the sale starts on Thursday morning to see if you got a good spot in line. Because if you have a good spot, you have to, just because you registered doesn't mean you're going to get it. You have to, you register, and if you get a good spot, then you can race to buy it with the few people that are kind of in line at that time.
What is the batch 1 and batch 2 sales?
I imagine one of them's Kansas City and one of them's Rutherford. Probably. For the drops.
As early as Thursday, then some of the properties start minting or being released as early as Thursday in these cities?
Yeah, so I think we'll be able to see the cities and the collections on Thursday.
Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And then at that point, you can start making your plan. I know that McSqueeb is going to be going to Kansas City. I, on the other hand, will probably be going to Rutherford just to switch it up.
Yeah, New Jersey's way cool. Got a lot of history there as well. I want to go to Kansas City just for personal reasons. I actually want to buy the house that I used to live in. If, depending on whether or not Upland actually mints that particular neighborhood where I used to live, I would love to buy that property. It will be so meaningful to me. But if I don't, there's so many great places in Kansas City. And if I may, let me speculate, just in my my limited knowledge of Kansas City, as to where I think there will be some properties. And again, you're saying that they will announce up front what the collections will be, correct?
Yes, both cities are releasing standard mode, which is opposite of vanilla mode when we don't know. So yeah, I believe they're both in standard mode, so we'll know all the collections up front.
So my guess would be this. My guess would be that there's going to be a River Market collection. The River Market in Kansas City is a 150-year-old riverfront neighborhood that currently, right now, has turned into a mecca for lovers of fresh eats, local produce, and history. River Market is located between the Missouri River and downtown Kansas City. I remember going there to the River Market to grab some great, amazing produce, because that's where basically it's like a farmer's market, but just very, very popular and very robust, market. That's one spot. Again, that's right between the Missouri River and downtown Kansas City. It's just a small little sliver of downtown. Another spot in Kansas City, if I may, is the Crossroads Arts District. Now, there's several arts districts in downtown Kansas City. Crossroads is definitely one of them. It is so Crossroads is filled with lots of little art shops, boutique shops, galleries, studios, creative businesses, restaurants. It is kind of one of the more hipper places to be. And let's see, it says if you have a passion for the arts, then the Crossroads Arts District is for you. The Crossroads Arts District is a nationally recognized gem that is home to hundreds of creative and art-focused entities intersecting all disciplines. Let's see, definitely a lot of live music, some live theater. Oh, I do remember Bazookas is a big nightclub there, huge amongst the more 20 to 21 to 35 age group, go there and party. Bazookas is huge. Of course, the Kansas City Ballet is there. The Symphony is there. Just a big deal. Like foodies would love that place. Okay, the next place though, there's these next two places I want to share. Westport. Okay, Westport sounds like kind of a industrial type of spot, but Westport actually is the hotbed of nightlife and culture in Kansas City. If you want to go and hang out with the hippest people in Kansas City, you're going to go to Westport. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods in Kansas City. It has beautiful tree-lined streets, but also just super cool, eclectic shops. It's very LGBTQ friendly there in Westport. Again, it's the fusion of hot night spots, fashionable boutiques, and local eateries. Lots of bars there. Annual events in Westport include the Westport Santa Dash, holiday open houses, Art Westport, Summer Beer Festival, and St. Patrick's Day. I've been there for St. Patrick's Day. It is freaking huge.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Oh my gosh, for like 3 days straight in St. Patrick's Day in Westport. Probably about 8 city blocks are dedicated to St. Patrick's Day. And I mean, I have seen so many bands that come in there, man, who was really big back in the day in kind of that Irish ska kind of thing, like Murphy's Law, maybe. Anyways, a lot of cool bands.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, it's way cool. A lot of beer, if that's your thing. Crown. Okay, the next one, the Crown Center District, also very cool, more family friendly. So one thing that's very cool about Kansas City is that it is the home of the headquarters for Crayola.
Really?
Yeah, Crayola, and what's the cards? The greeting cards company? Hallmark.
Wow.
Hallmark and Crayola both have their headquarters right there in downtown Kansas City. And
hey, that's two cool buildings to go after.
I'm telling you, if you grab Crayola or Hallmark, those are two of the biggest spots in
Dude,
Kansas
get
City.
that Hallmark building and then be approaching Hallmark headquarters and be like, hey, you want to be doing some NFT cards?
Yeah.
You know, you want to do some... Dude, imagine some Crayola crayon.
Yeah. Now, okay, so there's two things that happen in...
NFTs.
With those two companies, Crayola and Hallmark, in the district called the Crown Center District. It's right downtown. It's right in the heart of downtown. I used to take my children there when they were little. But this is great for kids and families. The area is home to several museums, one of those being the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, which I am sure is going to be a huge property within this release. It may even be...
That could be a landmark.
It may even be a landmark, yeah. The Federal Reserve, in fact, there's actually some mobster history with the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City right there.
Dude, that's cool.
It's actually way cool. I don't remember the specifics, but I just remember it being a big deal. Now, again, though, in that Crown Center district, there is what's called the Hallmark Visitor Center, and an area called Kaleidoscope that is a combination of Hallmark, Crayola, and Legoland. And so as a kid, you can take your kids there, and your kids can go in there and make greeting cards. They can go and play all these different little games and rides and little slides and things like that with Crayola stuff. Lots of little craft activities. And, of course, Legoland. There's a little Legoland Discovery Center. It's all very scientific, but it's also very fun. Again, very family-friendly, but Crown Center District is certainly a cool spot. Couple other spots I'll just share with you really quick. One is the West 39th Street. Again, I mentioned earlier that Kansas City is filled with people just don't think of Kansas City being this place where there's so much eclectic culture and art. And I'm telling you, Kansas City has it in spades. And the West 39th Street, okay? A lot of times in Upland, we talk about certain streets, okay? I predict Broadway Street being a big one. I predict the Paseo, which is kind of like a river with a street alongside of it. West 39th Street's definitely going to be a big one. The other one's just escaping my mind. Broadway. Let's see, 12th Street maybe. A lot of good streets. But anyways,
Awesome.
yeah. Okay, so the last thing I just want to say though. Okay, so West 39th Street. It's a funky collage of culture and cuisine located between Westport. Remember we talked about Westport and Kansas City University Medical Center, KU Med, biggest hospital in downtown Kansas City. Super cool area. It is the neighborhood to which is home to many of the city's specialty in international eateries. The Friends Sushi and Bento Place or Bob Wasabi. Just a lot of cool stuff. A lot of great shops. And of course, there's West Bottoms and East Bottoms, which again, very hip. A lot of dance places, a lot of cool bars. East Bottoms, always great. Now, one other thing I'll tell you about Kansas City. Okay, this is kind of a weird known fact about maybe a not so well known fact about Kansas City. You know, every city has its more well known histories, and then it has its kind of lesser known histories. But for anybody in the United States or elsewhere who happens to know of somebody who is a member of the church that's called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is very big here in Utah where Loyal Doyle and I live, or otherwise known as the Mormon Church, there's a lot of significant history within the Mormon Church or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Kansas City, Missouri. One is that this is an area where in Independence, Missouri, which is a town just kind of a town within Kansas City or next to Kansas City, this is an area where the Mormon Church actually had its headquarters in the early 1800s. They established a very large community there, and in fact, they became so large that the governor of Missouri, Governor Boggs was his name, became very concerned about the political control that the Mormons might ultimately have in Missouri. And there was some agitation between the Mormons and non-Mormons. There was some theft between both parties. There was some violence between both parties, which escalated the tensions to the fact that to the point where Governor Boggs actually issued an extermination order to allow the legalization of murdering Mormons in the state of Missouri.
Jeez, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, in addition to that, that was Independence, Missouri, but right north of the river, the Missouri River, is Clay County, Missouri. And in Clay County, Missouri, that's where the church's founder, Joseph Smith, lived for some time. And in fact, established two very significant areas of what would be determined as sacred grounds, I guess, for the LDS Church. One is called Adam on Diamond, which, according to Joseph Smith, was the very location where Adam and Eve actually initially lived as part of the Garden of Eden before the big flood relocated everybody. And then there's another area called Far West, which is just south of Adam on Diamond, where the first LDS temple was, or maybe the second temple was created. Either way, a lot of history there. A lot of interesting stories that came about from there. In fact, I lived in Clay County when I lived there, and there's a little river that ran through our neighborhood called the Fishing River. And the Fishing River is just a small river, maybe 30 feet wide at its greatest width. And there's a story where a lot of the militia, the state militia, came after Joseph Smith and his bros, his boys, his guys, chased him. Joseph Smith and his group crossed the Fishing River right about when a thunderstorm and hailstorm came, and this thunderstorm was so severe it actually killed some of the mob that were coming after Joseph Smith, and therefore
That's a serious hailstorm, man.
Yeah, like a softball-sized hail was kind of the theme of that story, and it actually killed probably about 20 men in that militia, which is
Jeez.
unbelievable. All right, so that's that story. Now, the last thing I'll tell you is that, again, north of Kansas City by just a few miles. Okay, so by the way, there's the Liberty Jail that's in Kansas City as well, which has also a lot of history within the Mormon Church. But north of Liberty by 7 miles is a town called Kearney. Now, it looks like it's spelled Kearney. It's spelled Kearney. Kearney, Missouri, is actually the birth home or the birth town of Jesse James, who is widely known as one of the, I guess, the Wild Wild West biggest criminals, most wanted men in the United States in the 1800s. We talked about the mobsters in Chicago in our last live episode. Jesse James was one of the few who were nationally known as wanted by the FBI, or at least by the American government at that point, for bank robbery and murder and other criminal activities. He was born in Kearney, Missouri, and lived a lot of his life there. And what's interesting is that in Kearney, Missouri, every year there's the Jesse James Festival, which happens around the time of his birth, celebrates the birth of Jesse James. And I mean, it's a cool little thing of culture and everything, but at the same time, you have to kind of stop and go, we're celebrating a guy who committed multiple murders and crazy thefts. So anyhow, that's just my little take on Kansas City. The other thing that's
cool.
The other thing that's super important, of course, is that Harry Truman is from Kansas City. Truman Avenue is another road that might be a big deal in Kansas City. And of course, the stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as the Kansas City Royals, are all in the same parking lot right there, just south of the river. Kansas City, I freaking love it. And as Oklahoma in the play Oklahoma would say, everything is up to date in Kansas City, and love the town, man. Love it a lot.
That's cool, man. Wow. I'm
Yeah.
impressed by how
Good
much
stuff.
you know about Kansas City.
I love the town. It was a great town.
That's cool, man. Dude, I love when you move somewhere and you get to learn about the history of that place. For me, that was actually like Minnesota. I hope Minnesota comes in the future.
Yeah.
You got the Twin Cities.
Minneapolis, yeah.
Yeah, Minneapolis. Mill City Museum, that's like, there's some really cool history there, like the Industrial Revolution and stuff. Anyway, wish we knew as much to share about Rutherford as well.
Right, sorry about that.
But
folks of Rutherford.
no, that's cool though. Some facts you guys should know, tidbits about what's going to be happening on Friday with the release of Kansas City as well as Rutherford. So Kansas City is what they're calling a mid-tier city, which means that roughly 50% of the properties will be FSA properties. So that leaves 50% for those of you who are no longer FSA players to be able to pick up those properties. Rutherford is a little bit different. I'm assuming there's a lot less properties in Rutherford than are going to be released in Kansas City. Maybe a lot more. We'll have to find that out and keep you guys updated on that. But Rutherford has 30% of the properties that will be under the Fair Start Act. So quite a bit less, and I'm assuming they're both, and it actually says Rutherford will be among the first small cities that find their way into the metaverse due to the low volume of available property.
What does that even mean? I'm not sure what that
It means there's less. Remember we were talking with Santa Clara, it's one of the lowest volume, lowest supply of properties, of parcels that you can actually buy. Rutherford may be the new smallest, even smaller than Santa Clara maybe. So it's going to be small. There's probably not going to be a lot of collections. There's probably definitely a lot more collection opportunity in Kansas City. So that's up to you guys to decide which one you want to go for in your strategy. Like we said, I'll be going Rutherford. McSqueeve will be going Kansas City. So we'll see. Also, they're releasing them at a little bit different schedules. So the initial stress test, because they always do a stress test at the beginning, will be in Kansas City in the Gladstone neighborhood. And I'm assuming the Gladstone neighborhood will not be a collection. They usually do not do a collection on the initial test.
Yeah, nothing. Gladstone is probably your lower middle class neighborhood. It's just north of the river, and there's nothing really great about Gladstone. I have great fond memories. I have a lot of friends in Gladstone, but it's just your typical standard lower middle class neighborhood.
Yeah, so it's probably not a collection, and from what they've normally done in the past. But what's crazy is after that stress test, they're going to drop the entire city of Rutherford.
So
all of the collections and everything all at once in Rutherford will be dropped in stage 2 on Friday morning.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time, in my understanding, that Upland has released 2 cities
and you have to
in
pick
2 separate places, because you have to be there, right?
Yep.
So you can't be in both places.
Nope.
This is the first time they've ever done that, right?
Yep, very first time.
That's actually kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's going to make it interesting, and people are going to be bringing in new strategies, and it's funny. You're going to see a lot of players who have a lot of Rutherford and a lot of players who have a lot of Kansas City. There will probably be a lot of trading that goes on, and which I think is good for the community.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like, and I'll bet you and I can do some trading. You pick up some extra properties in a collection. I pick up, and we do some trading there. The next 2 neighborhoods that will release in Kansas City are Blue Hills and Meadowbrook Heights. I'm assuming these are both going to be probably your purple, maybe blue collections, like lower tier collections. But dude, a lot of those purple collections, you can make really good money flipping those properties. And then stage 4 will be all of the properties, and those probably happen in, I don't know, 10-minute segments or something if they're testing and things are going well.
I used to live in Meadowbrook Heights. It's an average little town, little area. Nothing great. Blue Hills, kind of skanky, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know anything about Rutherford, but I'm telling you, I'm super excited for this one. And frankly, I'm tapped out on UPIX. Most of my value in the game right now is tied up in properties. I'm going to have to sell a dramatic amount of properties here in the next 36 hours.
I'm going to have to make you some
72
offers
hours
on some of your properties or something.
So just so you guys know, everyone out there, if you're listening to this, I'm going to be dropping the price on a lot of my properties so that I can collect a lot of UPIX so that I can clean house in Kansas City.
Nice. And then be sure to go to the Discord and follow the Upland Updates channel. That's where in the morning of the drop, Friday morning, you got to be watching Upland Updates like a hawk. Make sure, because if there's any issues they have to switch up plans, just be watching there in case this is your first time joining a new city drop. Be sure to be watching that Discord channel for sure. Anything else you want to add, or does that sum it up for today?
No, that sums it up. Other than we mentioned in the previous broadcast about the NFL partnership and how Kansas City, of course, is an NFL city. We mentioned that earlier, but of course so is Rutherford, the New York Giants. This to me may look like a pattern that you're going to see in the coming months within Upland, in that a lot of the cities that house or an NFL team will maybe the cities to be released coming up soon. So we already had Chicago, right? We already had Santa Clara, which has the San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City now Chiefs, New York Giants. We've got Chicago Bears. We got the Cleveland Browns. So
then coming next, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh man, see, there you go. So these are all NFL
Tennessee
cities.
Titans.
Yep. Saints.
I don't know who's in Louisiana.
Well, I mean, New Orleans is in Louisiana. Those are the 2 cities.
Okay.
So those are 2 cities. So just start picking your favorite NFL teams and be watching out for when those cities are going to be released soon. I'm assuming that's going to be the trend here for some time, that those are going to be. I mean, look, we are at the beginning of the NFL season. Like, the NFL season is only 3 months long. right, from now. Like, we only have 4 months long. So what if, I mean, I'm just guessing here, but what if Upland is ready to release all of the NFL cities between now and the end of NFL season for 2021?
Yeah, I think there's like 32 teams, right? So 32 different cities that have.
Yeah, we're not making any announcement. We have no idea. We're just guessing here. But wouldn't that be amazing if they were planning to release all of those cities in the next 4 months?
I think it's possible if the game grows fast enough from this initial hype of NFL, but I do think Dirk and Edon are very concerned about the economy and not.
Yeah, because you don't want to flood the supply, because you got Philadelphia, that's huge. You got Miami, that's massive. You've got LA, that's another big one. You got
huge.
Vegas, like all these towns are probably
Vegas
tier
is
1.
gonna be sweet now that the Raiders are there.
Dude, Seattle's going to be freaking massive. Like, all these towns are like tier 1 cities. Some of these are at least tier 1 cities. I don't know, man. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe that's not something that's in the cards for this season. Maybe that's coming next season.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible if we get an influx of a ton of players and everything's selling out. I think they'll keep dropping cities.
Atlanta.
However, if it's taking a little bit longer, I think we could see a rollout over a year period. I think it could take a year to have
is there a St. Louis NFL
all
team?
of them.
Yeah, there's just a lot. There's just a ton. I mean, that would be huge. That would be a very big deal. And, hopefully, though, like Tyler mentioned, we don't want I don't think the creators of Upland want to flood the game with more supply than there is demand. But by having this partnership with the NFL, we do expect a huge influx of demand.
Massive.
So, who knows what's going to happen? Either the floors of all these cities are just going to skyrocket, or we're going to add more supply to keep it level. Who knows what's going to happen? But it should be very interesting to watch, at least over the next 4 months.
Oh, yeah. So, man, what a huge day and week of announcements. NFL, 2 new cities, and then shortly coming soon, 2 more cities, which will be New Orleans, Louisiana, and Nashville, Tennessee. Like, there's so much coming to Upland. It's a fun time to be involved in the game.
And I just want to say this before we close. Anytime you're involved in a project and you see the creators of that project continually release new or roll out new announcements that are each announcement has real impact, the leadership of that organization has vision. That the leadership of that organization wants to take that vision much farther than just the next few months. These are the kind of things, these are the kind of indicators, these types of releases, these types of announcements that say that there's vision within the creators and the headquarters of Upland, such that in a year or two, who knows what Upland is going to look like.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
And they're already giving us a picture of that in the NFL announcement. In our other episode, what we talked about was someone owning a fleet of vans and to deliver, and they're thinking there's just that example they gave us goes to show they are thinking about things we have not even, most of us players are not even imagining at this point. All players could either own a business or work for a business within Upland in the future. Owning a property is nothing compared to where we're going.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to get to the point where I'm starting to think like I'm already behind the game because I don't have a solid business model for what I could do within this game. But we all know that 15, 20 years ago when fantasy football started becoming a real thing, that people started making business models around fantasy football and we're starting to make money off that. I mean, the sky is the limit. This is virgin territory for anyone out there who's got a creative mind and an entrepreneurial spirit to come into the metaverse here in Upland. I mean, Dirk, Edon, they have opened the door wide for anyone to come in and pitch ideas to make things
Yeah.
happen to create an economy within this metaverse. If any one of us out there has a sharp mind and an entrepreneurial spirit, there's no reason why we can't come in and do something great inside this metaverse. I'm just telling you, man, like that there's vision in the headquarters, and I'm not just trying to be a fanboy. I'm just saying that, like, I've seen a lot of projects and I'm seeing some cool stuff here, and I don't suspect that it's going to be slowing down anytime soon.
Absolutely. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. We really, really appreciate the support. We're growing much faster than expected, and we're just really thankful you guys watch and support us. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we can improve, what we could do better for you guys, and we hope to see you in the next one. Peace.
Take care.